Welcome
Merry
to
Christmas.
Oh,
Sorry.
happy holidays.
I went off script. Happy holidays. Welcome to the annual MovieBitches Christmas movie roundup, where we will talk about all of the terrible made-for-TV and or streaming service movies that are out and about related to Christmas and or now different holidays.
Yeah.
It's really getting diverse out there.
Well, for every 50 Christmas movies, there's like 2 Hanukkah movies, and that's it. I don't think they've made a Kwanzaa movie yet, but, I could be wrong.
So first things first, shout out to our Patreon supporters. $5 a month more gets you early access. $10 gets you access to our viewing parties. Second thing second, make sure to subscribe, share, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, This is a big Christmas season, so make sure to subscribe because we have multiple parts of Christmas Roundup. There's a lot to talk about. Get your hot cocoa ready. Put those little marshmallows on top, because here we go.
Okay, so the first one that I watched.
The way you said, okay, so New York's hottest Christmas movie has everything.
Everything.
Christmas tree lots.
Meet cutes at the Christmas tree lot. Workaholic women. Small
Christmas
town businesses
cookies.
going under.
Snowball fights. Yeah.
Bills that are due not at the end of the month, but on Christmas Eve, in fact.
I would love for Stefan to do one of those. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
I would love that. I would love that.
Yeah.
So the first one I watched, I think it was on Hallmark, was starring Melissa Joan Hart. Always a good sign. I mean, a bad sign for how good it's. I mean, they're always like, what's this? So this one's called A Very Nutty Christmas.
Ooh. Isn't that a Nutty Professor movie?
A Very Nutty Christmas? I don't think so.
I'm surprised that there isn't like a Christmas made for TV.
Like Eddie Murphy, I'll be playing all the parts.
Yeah.
Including Black Santa.
A Very Nutty Christmas. Yeah. Love it.
No, this is just A Very Nutty Christmas, starring Melissa Joan Hart and Marissa Jared Whittaker of Hairspray, the Broadway version fame.
Cool.
Anyway, she's an overworked, workaholic bakery owner who only seems to sell cookies. Thought it was odd. Specifically Christmas
bread
cookies.
Or pastries.
Nope, just cookies. Christmas cookies. Maybe she has a different plan when it's not Christmas time, but this time of year, it's Christmas cookies or it's nothing. Keeps taking these big orders. It's just her and the guy who plays the real estate agent from Schitt's Creek.
Oh, yeah.
I forget his name.
Ray, but I don't know what his actual name is.
I forget, but so it's him, it's Melissa Jared Whittaker and Melissa Joan Hart, that's hard to say in a row, running this whole bakery. They're always like, oh my God, we've got 2,000 cookies to make, because she just keeps on taking on more orders from the military.
Double your cookie order. Anything for the soldiers. Operation Cookie Drop is ready to go into action on Christmas Eve, sir.
There's a lot of like, oh, General so-and-so called from the army base and needs 3,000 cookies. And then it'll be like, the Navy called. Admiral so-and-so wants to beat the Army's Christmas order. It's weird. Anyway, the long and the short of it is she goes to an outdoor holiday festival and meets Santa Claus, not sure. We don't ever find out.
Oh, hello, ladies. I'm Randolph Drosselmeyer, and I have some wonderful Christmas antiques.
He sells her a nutcracker, so she brings it home and goes to sleep. She also falls asleep with her phone in her hand. It's kind of become a pet peeve of mine when people in movies...
Was she drunk?
Don't know. Just... Christmas. I don't know. Oh, the Christmas cookie orders. They're really...
overworked.
But it drives me crazy when people in movies don't charge their phone at night. What are you doing? Just sat on the counter all night? Didn't charge it? You're going to have to deal with that.
Maybe she charges it at the bakery during the day.
Small pet peeve of mine, but I just always am like, what are you doing? What's happening? What's going on with this? So anyway, she wakes up in the morning to find that the nutcracker has come to life. Of course.
Oh.
Of course.
Does it become her boyfriend lover?
Yes. He's laying on the floor like a dead body, and she's so busy and late for work that she doesn't notice that there's a man on the floor.
What the heck? Hello?
She was expecting, because she also is going under. and needs the money. So she was expecting like an Airbnb guest, or like they have some stupid non-name for it.
Right.
Who's going to rent out her room in her house. But she has no idea what this man looks like or his name or anything. So then she assumes that the man who is asleep on her floor, who let himself in, is the Airbnb guest. The man that is dressed like, it's wacky.
Good Morgan.
Oh, you must be my house share guy.
Real weird. So anyway, the long and the short of it is, he's a nutcracker come to life. They fall in love. He teaches her about the magic of Christmas and chivalry, I suppose. There was also a theme that went through a lot of the movies where there was either someone named Clara, or there was talk of the Nutcracker and Clara. Clara was coming up.
Oh, okay.
That was a thing that was coming up a lot on my list.
Huh.
Oh, Clara. You're not going to know who this is, but the Nutcracker is played by Barry Watson, who was like the long-haired son on Seventh Heaven, and he was like in Teaching Mrs. Tingle. Anyway, he was like a low-key heartthrob in the early 90s, and he looks...
Like Melissa Joan Hart?
Yeah. So anyway, that happens. He's there. At some point, he mentions fighting in the war, and I was like, so this sentient Nutcracker has memories. Interesting. Okay.
What war, Nutcracker, sir?
Then we find out that it was the war within the Nutcracker, the ballet. Like, he remembers the war of the Rat King and him.
With this sword, I have fought the Mouse King.
Don't say mouse. Never say mouse in a food establishment.
He will return.
So the weird thing is that everyone's like just really blasé about everything. So she's talking to Melissa Jared Whittaker, who's like her gal pal or whatever, and she's like, so he's the Nutcracker come to life then? And she's like, yeah, I know. Oh my God. So anyway, and you're just like, I'm sorry, back up. We need to have a very lengthy conversation about this. What is going on?
He's the wooden Nutcracker come to life. So?
But she's like, he's so hot though. Like everyone's just like, he's so hot. Oh my God, blah, blah, blah.
He's a toy. Oh, and you're done playing with him? Like a decoration.
Yeah, he's incredibly good looking.
Anyway, they fall in love. Then she finds out that he's not the house share guy and that he's the Nutcracker. And she gets all mad about it.
What happened to the house share guy?
She finds out because he cancels and her phone tells her.
And she's like, wait, you're not the guy who canceled?
Yeah, it was pretty uneventful.
When did he cancel?
Like days after. It didn't make sense. He keeps being like, I have to protect you from the Rat King or whatever. And she's like, okay, weirdo. And then it turns out that there's like movers that are taking the cookies to the army bases. And it's like, there's a tree in front of the letters and it's... And then the two movers are like, we're not going to move your cookies because we don't do that part of the job. And then she's like, whatever do you mean? And they're like, that's not our job description. And she's like, okay, I'll put them in the truck. And they're like, no, only union people can put stuff in the truck.
They don't load the cookies. It's not our job. We just drive the truck.
Okay, fine. We'll load the cookies.
Nah. You can't load the cookies. It's a union truck.
And there was like a weird exchange about that didn't make any sense. And then, of course, the Nutcracker...
That made it into the script.
So either you're going to put my cookies on your truck and deliver them, or I'm going to let my Nutcracker go to town on you.
And then the whole town shows up to move the cookies into the truck because the Nutcracker fought them and was like, you
But
gotta...
are they union? The town?
No. They spent a lot of time on it. And I was like, I don't know if this mattered. But okay, so we're getting to the part that was really weird.
Okay. Oh, this is the part that's really weird. Okay, great.
So the whole time, her neighbor keeps talking about her son, nephew, that's in the military. The military thing is really coming up a lot of late.
Yeah.
But he can't make it home for Christmas. There's like, it's sprinkled throughout. And so she's like, oh, Barry Watson, Nutcracker, I'm mad at you and I hate you now and whatever. But then they kind of fall back in love. Anyway, then he's like, well, it's Christmas, so I have to go back to my Nutcracker form. And she's like, no, you have to be my boyfriend. So then I thought it was going to be like a Spirit of Christmas situation where it's like, oh, for the 2 weeks leading up to Christmas, her Nutcracker comes back to life and, cracks her nuts. And, oh, right, because that was the other thing. Just because he's a human Nutcracker, he can crush walnuts in his bare hands. and it becomes like a thing that people come to her shop for because they're like, this is crazy. He's cracking nuts with his bare hands. Oh, because their nut cracking machine breaks, and instead of getting it fixed, he just cracks all of the nuts in a timely manner, and then they're like, what would we have done without you, human nutcracker man? Wacky schmacky.
Also, what baker is buying uncracked walnuts?
Thank you. There was like a cartoon-sized gigantic bag, and I was like, well, this is why you are not making a profit and you can't get these cookies out in time.
You gotta crack 3,000 fucking walnuts.
So anyway, yes, he could actually crack nuts, and they fall asleep on the couch together, and she's like, oh, I'll miss you, Nutcracker man. And she wakes up, and he's an object again.
Oh.
And so then I started to like, oh no, does he remember being a person? And oh no, and what's going to happen? And then the neighbor comes over and is like, oh, good news, my nephew, who's a handsome soldier, is coming to your Christmas dinner. And they're like making flirty eyes at each other. And I'm like, your boyfriend just got turned into a nutcracker, ma'am. Aren't you sad
Oh,
about
I
this?
thought it was going to be the Nutcracker guy. But
No, totally different person. And she's all like, oh, anyway, eyes at him. And then it cuts to her mantle where the Nutcracker's sitting, and the Nutcracker winks. And I was like, oh no. So now he has to look on as the love of his life falls in love with someone else, and he's trapped inside a wooden coffin that he can only escape once a year and have PTSD from the war. It was really weird. I found it to be disturbing.
Well, so he has to sit there on the mantle in his little Nutcracker body watching this other dude bang his girlfriend?
Essentially, because at first I was like, oh, I guess he's just like, his essence went back to Germany with Santa. Oh, because he has like a tattoo on the back of his neck that says like made in Germany because it's like a nutcracker. She was like, wow, you're really proud German. It was dumb. Then the fact that he winks, that is when it was the last moment of the movie, and it disturbed me to my core. Because he's just going to sit there. Or, I mean, when it's not Christmas, he's just going to be put away in the cupboard waiting for Kate Holiday to, and then what, are they going to have a throuple? I mean, I'm into it, but like, it's a sad state of affairs for Barry Watson the Nutcracker. So anyway, that was a wacky one that I watched.
Yeah, that really is. What a way to kick it off. So the first one that I watched was much more normal than that. It was called Chateau Christmas.
Ooh.
No, not Christmas Chateau like you would think.
Yeah.
But whatever.
It would be a better title. It implies two different things. If it's Chateau Christmas, oh, we happen to be at a chateau for Christmas. If it's Christmas Chateau, then it's a chateau that's dedicated to Christmas. So, you know.
That's true.
Subtle difference.
That's true. Well, this was the former. It was a chateau during Christmas. It really checked a lot of boxes of like, you know, oh, okay, we got Christmas trees, music. She is a pianist who doesn't feel the magic of Christmas or performing anymore. She got read to filth by a music critic at one of her piano recitals. Seemed strange to me, but I guess whatever. Her heart wasn't in it, was what the critics said.
He saw
it was
into
a
her
scathing
soul.
review.
Does she end up falling in love with said critic after they discover the Christmas
No,
magic?
that critic is a woman, but I mean, that could happen, but this is not that movie.
Okay, great.
No, instead, she goes to vacation with her family in the town, and there's a chateau where she stays. The guy from Brothers and Sisters, the boyfriend, the cute gay boyfriend, is there, and he plays her ex-lover.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
But of course.
Who's been brought on by a mutual friend of theirs to run the Christmas orchestra.
Oh, okay.
At the chateau. The friend runs the chateau, and he's like, I really need your help, buddy. You normally do big time things, but instead I need you to, or you might be like a teacher at the local school of music, whatever.
You're either
Doesn't
a teacher
matter.
at the local school or you're conducting for the Boston Pops.
Pretty much. But so her life trajectory was the Boston Pop, and he was like, no, I want to stay in my small town, thank you very much. And so he's the music teacher, but he also got brought on to run the Christmas program at this chateau. They're trying to figure out ways to make it work, but someone got snowed in. The flautist is, whatever. Like, it was this whole thing of like, oh, everyone's calling in sick. Woo!
So then she has to be the
Anyway.
orchestra, a one-man orchestra, one-woman orchestra, and play the piano.
Yep.
And get over
Yep.
it.
So
And save
he
Christmas.
uses her world-renowned famousness to lure in other people to participate in the Christmas show.
They can get there, but not the other snowed-in people.
Well, they go to local famous people. It was weird. And then they find this quartet that they like reunite the two. The quartet split up. One of them died. It was kind of like, ooh. But then they're like, well, this doesn't have the same ring to it. We really need someone else.
We need a fourth.
Oh, hey, you music teacher, you used to play the same instrument and you're really great even though you quit your big time career in order to stay in the small town. Guess what? We need you to be part of... Anyway, it was all silly nonsense. It was very lovely, a little slow, but for the most part, it was fun. Wrote down all of the things that the boxes it checked.
Okay.
Well, obviously Christmas music, because like, duh.
Yes.
We got cookie decorating.
Oh,
Fancy Mountain Hotel. I feel like that has been added more recently, right? Where it's like, oh, and then there's this mountain hotel, and it's like, oh,
less
Christmassy.
B&Bs and more chateau, not chateau, but only chateaus, but like fancy.
Right.
Yes.
Ooh, I think probably because that way they can work in more sponsorships down the road. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, Weston, more advertise. Oh, right. Ooh, the Weston in Aspen wants you to come stay. It's like that kind of shit. Oh, the hidden Canadian accents I always love, right? Where
Ooh,
it's just
fun.
like, oh, what are you talking about, huh? And they're
I
like,
do,
ah.
I've been binge watching Anne with an E, hardcore.
Oh.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great. But whenever they say, they'll just be like, oh, the talking, oh, hi, I'm Anne with a tomorrow. It's like out of nowhere. Oh, right, it's Canada. I mean, it's supposed to be in Canada, but you're like, oh, right, okay, it's Canada.
Oh. And then there was a dead parent and a snowball fight. And I was like, okay, the drinking game checked off a lot of boxes.
Get that hot toddy.
In all honesty, you would need the hot toddy or the mulled wine or really any sort of alcoholic beverage to really make the entire
through.
process.
I feel like there was a lot of boring ones this year.
There were.
Yeah.
There was some that I just turned off. I was like, there was one called Christmas Unwrapped, and I didn't even make it 5 minutes through. It was like, oh, she's a journalist. She wants to be a real journalist, but they're making her cover the philanthropy section and, this billionaire philanthropist. And then and I was like, I don't care. This is bad. The acting was so bad. And the exposition was just all shoved into the first 2 minutes. And I was like, no, I'm out. I can't. So, quick commercial break, and we will be back with a snowball fight. Ooh, spontaneous.
Hot cocoa after.
Yeah. Ooh, let's make cookies.
Well, speaking of snowy, not quite chateaus, I watched a real boring one called Christmas with a View. It was on Netflix. I think that's what it was called. Yeah, Christmas with a View. Did you watch it?
I think I watched that last year.
Oh, it's not new, but I did watch it this year.
Oh, it's not new.
But I don't
see, I've been watching only 2021.
Oh, I have not.
April!
Sorry!
We've already talked about Christmas with a View.
I don't
You go watch it last year.
No, I don't think we did.
So I saw one that was called Christmas with a View.
Oh boy.
This one was fine.
Well, here, I'll explain it to you. You tell me. I mean, it's going to sound familiar, but okay. So the main problem is that there's like a secret, and both of their pasts are unrevealed until like an hour and 15 minutes in, and it doesn't matter. And you're just like, I would like to know these people instead of be like revealed that, oh, I kind of guessed what was happening. She's the manager at a fancy restaurant. Her friend is wacky, wacky, wacky. Did you already talk about this?
So, and then they're at a small Vermont inn.
Of course.
Yeah.
What's the view?
The view from this inn.
Okay.
Or whatever, of the mountains. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
I definitely watched it last year.
He's like a chef. He's like a chef.
Yes.
And he was on a weird
And he's like a famous,
show.
it's like an iron chef, and he like comes from TV, and you're like,
took
what?
His shirt off, and like on the show, they were like, look at his chef's abs, and you're like, what are we doing? What's happening? And it was all like real green screen, like they were like not even in a kitchen. It was just like hilarious.
I think I talked about it last year, and I was like, it was nice enough, but it was pretty typical and whatever. Right. The whole thing is that like, yeah,
her boss is gonna try and buy the last family-owned B&B on the hill. And
Right.
he's manipulating her into helping because she knows the couple that makes the best Eggs Benedict in the world, by the way.
Without her eggs, Florentine, we'd be dead and buried by now.
And the chef guy who drives a Tesla, and every time he drove in, it was like, and I was like, what are you doing? What's happening? That's the whole point. Like, what? Anyway, well, then you already saw it, but it was super boring. And the guy is the guy who's now on The Good Witch, which is a Hallmark television show that I quite enjoy. And,
Yeah, I thought it was fine. It was like, there was at least more going on than some of them. Some of them, it's really just like, oh my God.
It wasn't like fully paint by numbers, but they were both unappealing. Actually, her friend was real fun and weird.
Have you been stealing cheese from the kitchen again?
So?
Yeah.
And I was into it.
Yeah.
And she was dating a guy named Clyde. And they kept calling, because her name was like, it wasn't quite Bonnie, but they were like, we're Ronnie and Clyde, or something like that. He was,
that's right.
He was like a city planner. And they kept being like, my boyfriend, the city planner, who we never meet. My boyfriend, Clyde, the city planner. And then we never meet him. And then like an hour and a half in, you finally meet Clive. And you're like, he seems weird and cool. And then they find a really awkward way for him to take his shirt off. And you were like, hey, Clive, you got a gym down at that city planning office? What's going on?
Hey, Bonnie. So, my friend Mario is a lifty over at the gondola, and he says he could sneak us up the mountain for a late night ski.
And then they found a really dumb way for the main guy to also take his shirt off. He was like cooking.
Okay.
Are you okay?
And it's really hot. Actually, I'm just... And,
And he was like, might as well strip off this shirt. And it was just like so stupid. Abs. And it was like really egregious. And then, I don't know, they found love in a Tesla and saved the B&B.
I don't know. I thought that one was one of the better of the generic ones, in that like there was at least enough happening that like you could check in every now and then from, like, I think I watched it while making cookies or something very cliched like that.
That would have been good. I just wish we had known, like, the whole thing was they kept being like, oh, back in Chicago when that thing happened with the restaurant, and you're like, what was it? And also she seems to want to be a chef, but yet never wants to be a chef. So you're like, what's happening? Eventually it was like, oh, her restaurant failed. Well, yeah, that was obvious, but I thought it was like some big thing. And he is like, oh, like, I'm here for mysterious reasons on Christmas and my abs are hot. That was his whole personality.
Okay.
Are you okay?
And it's really hot. Actually, I'm just...
And he has to find the ornament because his parents who died stayed at the hotel.
That's right. They stayed at that. And there was a picture, and there was like, where's this ornament? Oh my God.
They were like, oh, look, that throw pillow that's still here is in the picture. And I was like, you've kept a throw pillow for 20 plus years? So,
in a hotel.
In a public space.
In like a high trafficked area.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I do recognize that cushion.
Yeah, that's the one right over there.
I managed to completely forget that you told me about this movie. Fun.
Yep.
But there
I'm sure my notes were like, well, it was pretty generic, and there's like this whole plot line of like, oh, they gotta save the chateau, and you're like, well, that could be any movie.
So then, of course, in the end, they start they take over the inn together and run it together.
Sure. Just super boring and pat.
Super pat, pretty boring, but not too bad.
Now I kind of want to go look and see my notes from last year.
Do you have it in your phone still?
It wasn't 2019.
It was, I didn't write. It was 2018.
Christmas movies 2018. I literally just wrote Christmas with a View. I took no notes. So, you know.
So
but yes, we did talk about it 2 years ago.
We should go back and look at the...
very cliched. It was like checks all the boxes. I'm pretty sure there was a Christmas lot, meet cute.
But it did say when it started, it said, based on a Harlequin novel. And I was like, ooh, this is going to be, it was real boring. That's why the shirts kept coming off. But it was like nothing was happening.
Love it.
There was also a lot of people's mouths not being on camera and saying things. What's that you say? The best eggs Benedict in the whole... What is that you use? Is it paprika? I think that's what... Yes! It was like really weird.
Well, we'll fix it in ADR.
There's a lot of, oh no, punch up later.
Oh, what was I watching? Oh, well, this is a perfect segue. I've noticed that the most recent season of The Bold Type has been
I stopped watching that.
You stopped watching?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it still. But this most recent season has gotten not great. And the ADR is just out of control. They didn't get enough coverage or I'm not sure what exactly happened, but it's a lot of like, blah, 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 blah. You know, it's like, and then it's like, okay, now we can cut to her after she said the line. And you're like, what's going on?
Huh? What's happening?
Who directed this? But speaking of The Bold Type, I watched one called Ghosting, The Spirit of Christmas. And now I think this one might have actually been from 2019.
That sounds intriguing.
It was-ish, sort of. Mostly. Anyway, it features Kat from The Bold Type.
Oh, okay.
Who I would probably rank Sutton, obviously the best.
Sutton's the best, and then Kat, and then...
And then Kat, and then...
Kate? That can't be... There can't be
Jenna?
a Kate. There can't be a Kate and a Kat.
Jane.
Jane. There you go.
But anyway, so Ghosting, The Spirit of Christmas. Kat goes on a date with a cute boy in Venice, and they have a great time.
Venice.
California.
Great.
Beach.
Okay.
It's very like LA.
The swampy canals of Venice, California.
Yeah, no, but it was like a cute, silly thing. And they have like a cute little hipstery date. And her character is actually very kind of Kat from Bold Type character. It's like, you know, kind of smart, hipster, cute, you know, socially conscious, that vibe. Great date. Both super in love. On her way back.
She dies. One of them dies.
He texts her and is like, would love to see you again, blah, blah, blah. And she looks at it, gets T-boned, dies.
Dramatic.
And then
yes,
she comes back as a ghost.
Absolutely.
Obviously. Of course.
But of course.
Of course.
Haunts only her best friend. And then they later find out the guy can see her. The best friend is like, oh, she's the only one that can see her. And then they run into the guy
and he's
at
like, hey,
the
what's up?
farmer's
Why'd you
market
ghost
at the
me?
Grove.
And she's like, literally.
Yeah, she's like, no, I'm dead. And he's like, you didn't have to pretend. Oh, because she like her Facebook page is like a memorial or whatever. And he's like, Jesus, you didn't have to post like a fake memorial page just to get rid of me. And she's like, no, I'm actually dead.
I'm a
he's
ghost.
like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I'm currently
And then
a
his
ghost.
sister is like, who are you talking to? And he's like,
But how can they ever be if she is in fact a ghost?
Hi, what are you doing here?
Cardiac embolism. Yeah, I'm
Damn.
super dead.
That's crazy.
she inspires her friend to pursue her dreams. And she's like the tea whisperer and like makes people happy with teas, I guess. You know, it's like, she's like, remember Chocolat, that movie?
One of those like fake jobs in movies that's not a real job.
Absolutely. It's
But
not a real job.
Chocolat, where the chocolate made us all awaken.
Yes, she has like a gift of like, I know what you need. You need this combination of teas. Here's your special blend.
Very The Good Witch. If anyone's interested in watching a lovely, pleasant show about a woman who gives the right kind of teas to people and good advice in a small town.
But so then, so she helps her pursue her dream of figuring out the teas. She also falls in love with the guy's sister. So LGBT undercurrent. Yeah. And also a black female lead. Love it. A black love interest. Love it.
Was this
so that was all.
Or this sounds as freeform because Bold Type.
Oh yeah, it was freeform. It was freeform. Oh right, and then like she can finally go to like rest in peace and move on after she's like shown them their way and they've learned together. Yes, she can cross over. Her parents, they have like a nice moment where they're at her grave and she misses them and they miss her and it's all sad.
My goodness.
It was like a little.
Yeah.
It was a little melancholy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a broken heart?
But still sad and untimely.
Yes, right. Tragic. Ugh, I'm sorry.
Just not the same kind of Hallmarky vibes of like, oh, I feel much better after that. That really helped soothe me. You know, it's like, oh, you're like, oh, wow.
Wow.
was
Life
kind
is
of sad.
fleeting. Okay.
Yeah. Don't text and drive, you know?
Sounds fun.
Anyway.
I mean, not fun, but, sounds good.
Well, yeah. So quick commercial break and we'll be back with a lot more and some lesbians and happiest season, all sorts of fun stuff. It's exciting. Let's go, lesbians. Here we go.
Lesbians!
Let's go, lesbians! Let's go! Lesbians, Jews, lesbians, lesbians, Jews, lesbians and Jews, lesbians and Jews! Hi, Jews, we're lesbians!
Now give Billy Eichner a Christmas movie. I'd watch the shit out of it. I mean, like a Jewish,
a Hanukkah
you have to,
movie.
like, do a crossover event. Love it.
Yeah. I would also be really down for, like,
A Julie
now,
Klausner.
a difficult people Hanukkah Christmas movie. Like,
Just give him the
especially
money to do one movie. Like, 3 seasons in a movie. Come on. I would love that.
I would love that. Oh my God. And get her to write it. It would be so snarky and amazing, and they could make fun of all of these things in the best possible way.
I would love it so much.
So happiest season. I was very excited about. It's the Hulu original Christmas movie.
Directed by Clea Duvall.
And maybe written?
At least half. Like her and someone else wrote it. Yes.
Yeah. It felt personal.
It did, in fact, feel personal.
So we did a trailer reaction, and we were excited. Like Dan Levy, Mary Steenburgen,
Victor Garber. I always say Steenburgen, but I don't know if that's right.
I don't know.
Mary Steenburgen.
Yeah, Mary Steenburgen.
Mary Steenburgen.
Yeah, Victor Garber, Aubrey Plaza, Allison Brie, Mackenzie Davis, Kristen Stewart, like all-star cast.
Yeah, and I thought it was mostly successful, but maybe could have been better. For me, this reminded me, one, it's like a real movie. It's not a Hallmark movie. You know what I mean? It's like, it almost reminded me, in good ways and bad, of The Family Stone.
Yeah, where you're like, ooh, I want to look at some house porn and have some family hijinks around. Oh God, it got sad.
Sure.
It wasn't quite as like dumb fun as Family Stone, where you're like, I mean, not what's
I
happening
hated
here.
The Family Stone, so I don't know what you're talking about.
But like, it got like,
I would watch this movie literally 1,000 times before rewatching Family Stone.
But like, Family Stone got like stupid. It was like a train wreck where you couldn't stop staring at it, where you're like, is she gonna fuck his brother? I think she's gonna end up with his brother. What? It was that. Anyway, happiest season. Yes, I also was excited. It turns out, slightly unfortunately, that the trailer has all of the funniest parts in it, and namely, all of the Dan Levy scenes. Essentially, he really steals the show. And is great as her
gay sidekick. I mean, he really lightens the mood, I think.
Well, so it started, and Mackenzie Davis and Kristen Stewart have been dating for a year, living together for 6 months, I guess, is sort of what we find out. And Mackenzie Davis invites her in a sort of a wrapped up in passion, invites her home for the holidays to meet her family. And then subsequently on the drive there is like, oops, I am not actually out to my family, and we have to pretend to be roommates and platonic roommates, and that is all. And so then, that's the catalyst for all of the conflict to happen.
That storyline, I feel like, is a little played out.
Yes.
And while it is a fair and valid story to be telling, and I love it, great, I do wish that we're moving past that. Sure, tell that story. And obviously, like I said, this felt personal.
Yeah.
And so it seemed like someone needed to tell something and get stuff off of their chest. I would love for it to be just okay, and then we made a comedy with all these other fabulous people being fabulous, and it was something else.
Yes, that is one of the main things I really, really loved about Schitt's Creek. He was just gay.
Or bi.
But he
likes
just
red and white wine.
He just was who he was, and that was so fun and nice, and there was barely a discussion about it. It wasn't a thing that needed to be discussed and hashed out. It was just who he was.
Yes, but it was still a celebration of their love, and
absolutely.
That's what it did so well, was that it was oh, look at this love story, but also it's just there. We're not gonna make the conflict, oh my God, come. I mean, there was an episode, I guess, where Patrick comes out to his parents, but
it was just oh, great. But anyway. But my big, yes, we could be telling a a different story perhaps. But my biggest thing was we don't really get to see Mackenzie Davis and Kristen Stewart properly as a couple. Really. The first scene they're in, she's trying to teach Kristen Stewart about why Christmas is great, and then they like break into a house and go on the roof. And this really cracked me up. She's like, oh my God, isn't it so beautiful? And I mean, this is me being an asshole, but then it cuts to like the city square and it was just like telephone poles and like Christmas lights. I was like, I mean, not really?
Not really?
It wasn't like, ooh, this is the only house where you could see the gazebo. It was like, it's a street with lights.
Sure. I remember there was a movie that I watched that we can get to at some point, but she's at this little B&B or whatever, and the guy's like, oh, this is my favorite room because of that view. And then they cut, and it's just like, they look out the window and there's just some shrubbery, and I'm like, what?
The storeroom happens to be my favorite room in the house. Mainly because of this view.
Wow.
I know, right?
What view? What are we talking about?
I mean, I was interested. So then, because the tone is fluctuates. They're on the roof. Oh, I love you. Oh, we're in love. Look at the Christmas lights.
Right.
It's the Christmas spirit. Oh no, someone's home in this house that seemed to be under construction. Oh my God. And then it's like a wacky comedy. Kristen Stewart's almost falling off the roof. Oh my God. And I was like, what's this? What's this movie? Okay, I guess we're doing a silly, like, broad comedy. Okay. And then like a Santa, like sexy Santa lady dominatrix comes out and she's whipping a reindeer man and she's like, get back in there. And she's like, don't come back to my house. And you're like, I guess this is the wacky schmacky movie we're making. And then it's just like sad. And she's like, my family
for a while
is really mean and repressive and everyone's kind of an asshole to me. And they're also being very rude to my guest who doesn't you know, if anything, I would think this family would put on a show to be extra nice to a guest. So you're just like, wait, why is everyone so mean? Oh no. And that was like about an hour and 10 minutes, and I was like, everyone's mean. This is a bummer.
It's true. The tone, I think, varied.
Yeah.
And like there was this whole thing of like Victor Garber is a politician or something, and he's so concerned about his image. Running for mayor, and his image, and the family is all about him and his image and how great he is, and Mary Steenburgen has to, you know, fluff him up all the time. And for me, that aspect of the story not only took all of the air out of all of the levity and comedy and fun, but also, like you said, it resulted in everyone in the family treating each other like shit. And in the end, the lesson is sort of like, oh, we all treat each other like shit. Why are we doing that?
They all like shit on the parents and they're like, it's your fault. You could put us against each other and we're assholes. And they're like, yeah, I guess we were assholes.
I mean, it's not wrong.
Anyway, it's not wrong, but like it was just sort of, they were just upfront assholes, which I find I often don't run into particularly. I find people are like secret assholes, which is way more interesting. They were just flat out like, oh, here's your orphan friend whose parents are dead. And I was like, whoa, regardless of your anything, that's harsh. I feel like you shouldn't just bring that up in every conversation. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, everyone was just like, oh, you're an orphan. And she really was an orphan. Like somehow in the trailer, I thought maybe that was like part of the lie.
This is Abby. Abby is my orphan roommate. I am an orphan, but we live together.
Yeah, it's like, I'm her orphan friend. But then she is actually her orphan girlfriend.
And people would just bring that up in every conversation. And I was like, that's just very rude, particularly from like a political family that would like try to be like, oh, I'm trying to gain every vote and trying to schmooze. And if anything, they would be like fake about it. And everyone was an asshole. Alison Brie's husband, the first thing he says when he meets Kristen Stewart, wow, some coconut oil would really help get those dry hands or whatever. And she's like, oh, okay, yes. And you're like, why is everyone a dick?
Alison Brie and her husband was so confusing to me. They had the whole gift basket thing, and then they were basically just using the children as props, both in the movie and the movie was using, like, it was like a little weird. You know, it's like, there's people of color in this movie. They're the prop children that they are using. It's like weird. It was weird. I'm sorry.
Well,
it was weird.
Yeah, everything was so upfront. Like, literally, the dad would just be like, show off your family to my constituents.
Like perfect girls. Sloan, she's our supermom. Harper is our powerhouse. And Jane...
Right.
Like, it wasn't even veiled at all. And so I just found it so odd. And then we're supposed to be, I guess, Kristen Stewart sort of looking in on this family. But she's, in a way, very much a doormat. And so you're sort of like, I feel like you should just go. Like, you feel bad for her, but you're also like, girl, stand up for yourself. And I did like at the end that she did and was like, I gotta go. I don't think that this is gonna work out.
Right.
And I was kind of like, yeah, maybe it doesn't work out. Oh no, it just ended and it was nice. Like, I was genuinely like, I wouldn't be mad at it. Like, and we've all learned something and grew, but it didn't work out this time. I think if we had gotten to know Mackenzie Davis more in her relationship with Kristen Stewart beforehand, we would have cared for her, liked her, and then to see her then regress when she goes back to her family and go, ooh, I know what that's like when you kind of change around the holidays. Just a hair, you know, everyone does just a little bit, acts a little different or whatever. And then you can sympathize with that. But because we didn't really get to know her beforehand, and so many things are revealed about her character that are very damning, that I was like, I don't think Kristen Stewart knows who she's involved with, really. And then she says that, and I was like, girl, I know. I think maybe you should go. I don't know. It seems like it's not working out. Maybe you should go date Aubrey Plaza.
I hope that people walk away from the movie and they're like disappointed that Kristen Stewart didn't end up with my character.
Right.
They had so much more
whole
chemistry.
They did. I was like, yeah, you should just ditch her and go with Aubrey Plaza or go live your life. I don't know, but I definitely felt that way. I think it's definitely true. I would have liked to see more of them as a couple before. And they did a little bit, like the title cards, you see them and like Dan Levy and whatever, and like the illustrations, and you're like, oh, they're a happy family. But
it was, I mean,
needed
in
to
a
get
way,
to know
it was
them as a couple.
As their personalities. Like, it showed that they had a relationship, and it was kind of trying to do this like Norman Rockwell, like a joke on Norman Rockwell, like, it's the perfect nuclear family, but they're lesbians. You know, it was doing that bit of business, which was fun, but it didn't really inform me about them and their relationship with each other than that they had a relationship.
Yeah, I wanted to see them, and even with Dan Levy, like, we never see the three of them together. It's only her, only Kristen Stewart and Dan together. Yeah. And so it's like, well, what's the relationship like? What's their day-to-day? And then, like you said, to see her fall out of like the progressive city mentality into this conservative household, small town, you better, look good on the family, young lady.
Yeah.
Still kind of annoying. But at
least you have the comparison, and then, have her like stand up to someone in the street and be like, hey, that's not right. Or do something where you're like, yeah, bitch. And then later have something mirror that, and she doesn't say it because she's, or whatever. And you go, ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I know it's
you were not the same person that I've been dating for a year. And it's like, yeah, because she's.
Well, plus, two public and shaming outings of people was upsetting. We find out that Aubrey Plaza and her dated in high school, and they found a note in her locker, and Mackenzie Davis was just like, she's a lesbian, she's obsessed with me, why are you so obsessed with me?
Right.
Outs her and just is like, bye. And I was like, oh girl, that's like pretty unforgivable. I mean, we could get there, but damn, like that, when she revealed that, I was like, ooh, you don't know who you're wanting to marry. Yikes.
Right.
Yikes. And then Alison Brie just fully outs Mackenzie Davis, not just to the family, but the entire party. And I was just like, ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the other kooky sister was fun. She seemed sweet. She was at least nice.
I related to the third sibling who's wacky and, tries to just play nice so everyone else can freak out kind of thing. Relatable. But she was just sort of wacky. Like, at a certain
that was
point,
her character, was like, oh, you're the wacky peacemaker who likes to draw and is wacky.
Right. I also didn't understand. So Anna Gasteyer shows up, and I was like, yes! She's like the governor? She's some sort of politician. I'm not sure. I didn't quite catch that.
Funding. I think she was the funding.
Oh, maybe she was the money.
Or something.
And the youngest sister has painted this huge painting for the White Elephant gift exchange. Anna Gasteyer opens it. It's clearly a a very nice picture of a Christmas street, and she goes, what the hell is this? Like, she couldn't recognize what, it was just, there was like a lot of like weird choices where I was like, well, that's not how a human being would respond to something. What? You'd be like, even if you did, like, I was expecting like some horrifying, like, oh God, what's this? Like some, you know, like sexy man like draped over a tiger, you know, something like some fantasy novel thing, because she's always talking about her, her, like something that's like gaudy or whatever. You know, like,
right.
Oh, I'm scandalized.
Oh, I'm scandalized.
Yeah, who's putting that up in her living room, right? Yeah.
I mean, I love it, but like, ooh, I was so scandalized. But then it was just like a nice picture of a Christmassy Main Street.
Yeah.
Strange choices, but I did like a lot about it too. I liked Kristen Stewart. I thought she was very good in it. I mean, the acting was great.
The acting was all good.
I just didn't connect with anybody, and and ultimately didn't find a lot of things to like about the characters, except for Dan Levy.
I think that's mostly true. Dan was great. You're like, yeah, love you, guy. I agree. I think it's certainly watchable. Like, I would say watch it if, you know, we talked about a lot of it, but like, it's not really spoilable, really.
If you've seen the trailer, you saw the movie, honestly.
Honestly, there was a lot to like. There's just also a lot. I think sometimes that's almost harder where you're then like, well, this could have been so much better and so much more fun or so much more positive. And I didn't get a lot of positivity from it. There was so much negativity swirling around for an hour in the middle that you're like, okay, well, but...
I'm also not the biggest fan of like cringe humor movies.
Right.
Some people find them very funny and I find them cringy.
Right.
And so I wasn't sure if it was me and some of the stuff would be really funny to someone else, like them just being really rude and cringy to her. I genuinely found it confusing. I was just like, they were being so shitty to her. She's like a guest in their house. They put her in the basement, and they're like, oh, there's no lock on this door because Jane had night terrors or something. And they burst in on her multiple times. Multiple times. And I was just like, this is just inappropriate for a guest in your house.
That was what was weird. It was like for a family that seemed so concerned about appearances, then it was like within the house, they didn't act like real people ever.
All that stuff with the ex-boyfriend was weird. She's like flirting with she's like...
Oh, her ex, right, because...
Question mark gonna fuck her ex, and I'm like, what's this though? It seemed like they had a bad relationship. And I was like, you don't seem to be on the same page. Kristen Stewart's like, I'm obsessed with you, let's get married. And Mackenzie Davis is like, oh no, I haven't been my true authentic self to you at all. Oh no. And then, I was honestly like, oh, it was a story about two people that thought they were in love with each other, but then grew and learned and realized that it wasn't their time. But then it was just like, Christmas card.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God, the stupid Christmas picture. I think Mary didn't have enough to do. Her character was empty. Yeah. And I would have loved to see more from her.
I did really like, and it kind of faded away, but I really liked Kristen Stewart's bad lying. Was she just was like, and more details, and I'll keep like piling on.
That's Harper's high school boyfriend. Do you have a boyfriend, Abby?
I actually just went through a breakup.
Oh no.
With Milk. A man.
Oh, bad lying.
Yeah, she was like, oh, well, you don't say too much, you're a terrible liar. And then it like became this joke of like, oh, well, then, oh God, she just kept on like digging her own grave even more and more. And like, that was funny. And that whole scene with like the mall security people.
Right.
Felt like that was in a different movie. That was like Meet the Parents movie.
Yeah, this movie wanted to be Meet the Parents, Family Stone, but it was like, we can't mix all of these together. Which one is it?
Yeah, which one is it? Because, the big shoplifting scandal is going to get back to the mayor. I was like, okay, I'm not.
Right.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, now that I think about it, it was a lot of Meet the Parents. The family was terrible to Ben Stiller, right? Like, they were all awful to him.
Well,
because they were protective of the daughter, but like...
Well, it was mainly Robert De Niro. I feel like Blythe Danner was nice. Like the mom.
That's true.
Like it was really just Robert De Niro and then Ben Stiller's like sort of bad luck of always
the propensity of like always having the wrong looking thing happening.
Yeah, and then everyone being a little bit like, but Robert De Niro being like, bitch, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah.
But this was like, everyone was just like, we hate you. You're an orphan. Whoa. And they weren't even acting, because they were pretending to be roommates / friends. They weren't even acting like friends. I mean, I get it. They were trying to like be covert, but they weren't even like they were acting like, oh, even if we just like chitty chat and like have a fun time kikiing as two girls that are friends, my parents will know or something. Like they were just like, and I will be your orphan under the stairs. It was very weird.
And now that I think about it, it makes it even weirder in that like, I forgot that she's not there as like a girlfriend. She's there as a friend.
Yeah.
So you have to remove the like protection or, you know, whatever of like, oh, you're dating my sister, I don't trust you, or we're gonna treat you.
It's
this
like,
is her friend, and you're treating them like shit.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It was just like, you orphan, you, fuck you. You didn't buy a white elephant gift yet? Blah. You can't come to our dinner, bitch. Like, I was like, Jesus Christ, you just met her, and she's been nothing but lovely. Oh, wait, but we didn't talk about when they went to the drag bar and Jinx and Bendela were there.
Oh my God, that's right. Oh my God, yes. I was like, yeah.
Oh, it was like a breath of fresh air. I was like, oh.
Right.
Oh, they're in a safe space.
Aubrey Plaza, Jinx and Bendela,
Aubrey
yes.
Plaza's being nice to her, yes. And we're in a drag bar that's like a diner, yes. It was like, oh, I feel safe. Okay. I didn't really know what that was telling me exactly, other than like run away with Aubrey Plaza. But
yes, you should date. I want to date Aubrey Plaza now.
Like, it was set up in a way that they kept having meet cutes. We're in like a rom-com where it'd be like, oh, you happened to be here when I needed help, and they kept running into each other. So I was like, this is telling me that they will in fact be dating by the end of this movie. No,
I really think I might have preferred that. Yeah,
maybe, and that would be more realistic to a rom-com. Mackenzie Davis is just then the James Marsden. Oh, you know, she wasn't the one. That's fine.
Right. Yeah. She needs to learn to love herself and to come to terms with who she is as a person instead of, you know, taking it out on other people. And that's a lesson that she will now learn. Meanwhile, I'm going to go off and ride into the sunset with Aubrey Plaza.
And Dan Levy in the backseat.
Yes, girl. Yeah.
So anyway.
It flies off into the sunset. Bye. There's a little red light on the front of the car. You know, love it. Yeah.
But of course. I had a lot of nitpicky things because I think it could have been great. I think it's like totally worth a watch, and I'm excited that it exists. And the cast was amazing, and there was really funny stuff in it, but just like on a whole, it wasn't fully satisfying.
I agree. Missed opportunities, I think. It wasn't bad.
It wasn't
but
bad.
But it wasn't as great as it could have been.
Yeah, and more Dan Levy, always.
Always. I mean, I hope that this means that we'll see him in more stuff like this, because it would be fun. He's silly. He's sassy and fun.
Absolutely.
I will say I have my fingers crossed for A Christmas Setup, which is the Lifetime gay romance with Fran Drescher movie. So excited. I saw the little trailer promo for it, and I was like, yes, please. That is much more of like just a Hallmark movie with gays.
Right.
That's fine too. I love it. We need all of it. We need all of it.
Plans to watch.
Yes, plans to watch.
Because why was it called the Happiest Season? It was not. Was that the joke?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
So speaking of the spirit of Christmas and happiest Christmas ever.
Not actually the spirit of Christmas.
Oh my God.
My favorite
the spirit of Christmas. Oh.
After Mixed Nuts, ? My favorite Christmas movie of all time.
Stop it.
It's up there.
What about Ghost Train?
Oh, the Christmas Train. No, that movie was fucking insane. Spirit of Christmas is at least like I could write a dissertation on Spirit of Christmas.
Sure.
Anyway, yes, continue.
Anyway, yeah, no, not like that, unfortunately, at all. No, I watched one called A Very Charming Christmas Town, which is just the most generic nonsense title. But here we go. Okay, you ready?
Like the untitled, that's like what they put on the yellow cards.
Yes.
For you to know where the set is, like the fake title that they untitled Christmas, shark movie or whatever. It's like a very
charming Christmas town.
We'll fill it in later.
I picked this one because in the description it said that they go to Solvang, which is like wine country outside of LA, and I was like, yes. It was fine. It was a little boring. Travel blog writer /
That's really
music.
That's
writer?
the new job
Definitely is. That's like, especially for 2020, I think it's like, if there's not music and or travel blogging in this plot, then something's wrong. We're missing something.
Key component.
And this one gets both. She not only was a travel blog writer, but also previously in another life was a songwriter.
Wait, literally another life or just...
Not literally,
okay,
no,
okay.
I'm sorry. I keep saying these things and forgetting that these are actual things that could happen in a Christmas.
I'm like, oh wait, you mean like there's... Anyway, okay, yes, continue.
Earlier in her life, she was a songwriter for like famous pop, country, whatever star. She lost the love. Her heart wasn't in it anymore. So she stopped doing songwriting and she runs a travel blog with her sister. And her sister's bossy, A-type, and says, I've planned an entire trip for you to drive up to Solvang for Christmas because they're the most Christmassy town in the world, and you have to go write about how Christmassy it is.
And it's due on Christmas Eve.
Oh, well, of course.
Of course.
And she gets there and is, very Scroogey and is like, this town is gimmicky and it's Dutch nonsense and it's not really...
Did they really film it in Solvang?
Yeah.
So that's fun.
I would assume so because it looked like Solvang.
Sure. I mean, Solvang is very memorable, so...
Right. The tour guide that takes her around is the love interest, and he melts her cold, cold heart, and she accidentally publishes the original draft.
Of course.
Of course.
Calling the town, gimmicky and terrible, and everyone there that she's now grown to love is so heartbroken and upset, and she feels terrible, and I'm like, yeah, you should. And then her sister, she writes the other one and fixes it, and then, everything's great. It was fine.
Storeroom happens to be my favorite room in the house. Mainly because of this view.
Wow.
I know, right?
The weirdest thing about it for me was that there were constant references to her talking about how she's a sweet tooth, especially chocolate.
I know how to stop and smell the real sweets. That's why people follow my blog. And I'll have you know I really like sweets, especially chocolate.
I don't know if it was her bad acting or the script or all of the above.
This is delicious.
Oh, I'll eat another cookie. Oh my God, everything's chocolate. It was like a lot of that. It was doing more and trying harder than a lot of the ones that I've watched.
Okay.
But it wasn't particularly great. The pacing on these, it's a problem. It's just like, this could have been an hour, and instead you dragged it out to an hour and 35 and then added 20 minutes of commercials. And now I'm like, why am I still doing this? This was a waste of time. Anyway, yeah, you could watch it, but it was whatever. It was fine. It was fine.
So the next one that I watched was called Christmas on My Mind. And it stars Ashley Greene, who you don't know, but is Alice from the Twilight movies.
Oh, okay.
So it starts and she's running down the street holding a big garment bag, and Santa, who may or may not be real, we don't ever find out, ringing a bell on the sidewalk, and she's like, oh my God! And she slips in the sand, or not the sand.
Brain injury.
In the snow. She slips in the snow. Oh dear, what's happened?
Hey, be careful, Mr. Slippery!
But it was shot in a way that was just like, oh no, I fell. And then they cut to like her and she's like, where am I? Who am I? Oh my God. And I was like, you didn't hit your head that hard, girl, but okay, sure.
We all saw her fall on her ass though, right?
Right?
She fell. Okay, and it wasn't just me, but everyone saw her fall on her butt, right?
She's like in the hospital and she's like, oh my God. Oh, and Jack Hay is her doctor and it's fab. She's the reason that I decided to watch this movie. Also because the inherent hilarity of amnesia was, I was like, oh yes, it's going to be something wacky. So she wakes up in the hospital and she's like, where's Derek? I forget his name. And they're like, Derek, you broke up with him 2 years ago. And she's like, what? I thought we were getting married next week. Because she's like holding a wedding dress. Or that was in the garment bag. And she's like, oh my God. Oh my God. So she's in the hospital and she's like, well, I gotta go. And she leaves and goes to Derek's restaurant bistro bar. And she's like, hey, what's up? So excited about our upcoming wedding. And he's like, what? And his brother's there and is like, oh, hey, haven't seen you in a while. You look great. And she's like, did you get your hair cut? And like starts to unravel. And she's like, what year is it? Oh my God. Oh my God. So anyway, so she has lost the last 2 years of her life, and she has a newly fiance. They're supposed to get married on New Year's, I want to say, and there was like an important business reason. And she's an art. Now let me get this right. She runs a philanthropic art fund that her aunt ran before she died, because dead parents. And she used to be into doing all these like charity art programs and stuff, but now she lives in the big city and is all about the business. But she doesn't remember any of that because it's 2 years ago. And so she's like in the small town and she's hanging out with her ex-boyfriend, and she keeps being like, why did I break up with you? Like, you seem great. And he's like, nah. And then...
Is he seeing someone else now?
We find out later he's seeing someone else who was like the beauty queen of the town, but he doesn't seem that into her, and you're like, huh.
Okay.
And then her assistant friend is like tagging along, being fabulous, by the way. And she's just like, let's figure this out. It'll be great. I'm up for it. Yeah. So they go back to the small town, and she's obviously she's still in love with the old boyfriend, and he's just like, bleh. And there's sort of this like shrouded mystery of like what happened. It's unsatisfying. You know what I think we have to add to the list? So then big city fiance surprise shows up and is like, hey, I know that you told me you didn't want me around for Christmas because you obviously wanted to hang out with your ex-boyfriend. He doesn't actually say this. Because you obviously wanted to hang out with your ex-boyfriend because you have amnesia and you still think you're in love with him. But he's just like, hey, I decided to join you in the small town and not tell you. And then proceeds to realize she's still in love with him, blah, blah, blah. And they have the most amicable breakup. And I feel like that needs to be added to the list.
This isn't working.
I know. I can't remember our time together, but I can tell that you're a really good man.
I think we added that to the list last year.
Did we? Because it's so...
Or at least we talked about it.
It's
we
so
talked
bad.
about...
It's just like, well, I guess you're right. We'll just put the wedding on hold. And then, like, scenes later, he's like, I guess it didn't work out. Can we still be business partners? And she's like, of course.
Of course.
See you in the new year. And they just like...
Well, will you still stay on as CFO? And I really don't want things to change.
We're partners.
He walks away from the woman he was planning on marrying in a week. And you're like, I feel like this is a longer conversation to be had. Okay. I'll let you get on with your ex because that's clearly what the plot's telling me to do. Goodbye.
Right.
And it just turns out that, like, actually the old boyfriend broke up with her because she was too interested in pleasing her dead aunt's wishes, and he didn't think that it was going to work, and it was, like, sort of dumb.
Her dead aunt's wishes to do philanthropy?
Well, the business philanthropy, but she needed to get back into the streets and do,
the art philanthropy.
Art programs for the kids. We got to protect the children.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, she starts to remember stuff, and then they fall in love, and then they kiss on the dock.
Okay. So,
it was like...
nice enough.
It was like totally nice and fine, and Jack Hay was there, and, falling in love after a brain injury. Maybe that's... I think that's definitely an add-on. That's a...
That's like you make a special drink for that.
Yeah. You make a brand new one. And
a sidecar.
And the drink is called the Amnesia.
Oh my God, I love it.
It was really funny. The town, of course, is obsessed with Christmas, and it's like, oh, we have the gingerbread house making competition, and we have the snowman making competition, and like all these things. And then they go on a sleigh ride that I literally timed was 15 seconds.
Right.
It was really weird. They're like, oh, great, it's our turn to go on the sleigh ride. We're back. It was really weird. It was really weird. It was obviously editing, but also very weird. Like, it was so short. Like, I had to rewind it and be like, wait, did I miss something? What happened? They're back already? It was very strange. So it was like, fine. Pretty cute. They're both fine.
I'll take it. Especially, I mean, this is November. We're not even into December yet, so there's so much more to come. I mean, I guess we probably should call part 1, and we have to wait. Part 2 has a lot of good stuff coming.
There's a lot more to talk about. I want to talk about, I'm going to tease it, Christmas in the Heartland.
Ooh.
I got a lot to say.
Okay, well, and I have to talk about a New York Christmas wedding because I have a lot to say.
Great. I'm excited. I can't wait to hear about it.
And then we have Feliz Navidad. We have the setup Gay Christmas with
Yes.
Fran Drescher. We have Princess Switch 2.
Switched again.
Just came out now at this point. Dolly Parton Christmas.
Oh.
There's a lot of really exciting stuff happening.
Very
So
exciting.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's a holly jolly Christmas.
Cheers.
Mainly because of this view.
Wow.
I know, right?